Carl and Liam here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it is one of our favorite things. It's the video game track by track. This is where we do a track by track talk through of a video game soundtrack. We've done a few already. Go check them out on the channel. And this time round, we're going to be looking at a series, I think, that has strong soundtracks overall. Starting with the first game in this series, it is, of course, Donkey Kong Country, the 1994 platform game. It's developed by Rare and published by Nintendo for the SNES, the SNES. And it was a reboot. I didn't know this, but it was a reboot of, it was their rebooting the entire Donkey Kong franchise. I was like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah, all right, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. David Wise composed most of this soundtrack. Initially working as a freelancer, he assumed his music would actually be replaced by a Japanese composer because of the importance of Donkey Kong to Nintendo. So Rare apparently asked him to record 3 jungle demo tunes that were then actually merged together to become the track DK Island Swing, the first levels track. He was then offered the job to produce the final score. Before composing, he was shown the graphics and given an opportunity to play the level that the tracks would appear in. So he got a good sense of what he needed to do. This isn't the Sonic 2 situation where the guy was literally like shown a few screenshots and told to make fucking music. This guy actually got to play them.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I mean, must have been difficult back in these times to just create tracks for levels and stuff when you had basically nothing to go on and just like maybe some basic notes on what it was going to be, the level and stuff like that, but I didn't have anything to really look at, you know? Yeah.
Alongside him, Eveline Novakovic contributed 7 tracks, including the world map theme, and this was her first SNES project. And Funky Kong's theme was originally written by a person called Robert Beanland. That's all the composers given their credit, as it were. I don't know why I chose this. I don't know if it's because yeah, only on reflection. And in fact, I've always liked Donkey Kong Country's soundtrack, but I like it a mix of all the games rather than one specifically. But I think I just got so stuck in the Donkey Kong mind frame because obviously we've just wrapped up, as of the time recording, the entire Donkey Kong TV show series, 40 episodes of that. And with the Mario movie, the Super Mario Brothers movie coming out, and obviously Donkey Kong was featured in that, it just feels like I've given myself overkill in Donkey Kong now, and I swear to God, if I ever see that ape again, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah.
You want to just complete the package by doing Donkey Kong Country tracks. But yeah, I would probably argue to say that Donkey Kong maybe is never more relevant than he's ever been at the moment with the new movie. So it's not a bad time to look back at it, for sure.
Yeah, just a shame about the voice actor in the movie, eh?
Yeah. Maybe they said that conversation for another day, another video. But yeah.
Indeed, absolutely. Well, as of the time recording this Saturday, you can read my unfiltered thoughts about that movie. And what, as I pointed at the end of that review, it don't fucking matter because the amount of money this movie made, it doesn't matter what any of us think.
It's made an insane amount of money.
But Donkey Kong Country, and we begin with opening theme, and it's an instant hit of nostalgia that is very Nintendo, but transitions well into the jungle theme. It's catchy, nice rhythmic beat.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I know you've mentioned that, but I was just gonna say, like, what are your memories to do with the game? I'll come back to give my thoughts on the theme in a second, but like, do you remember playing this game a lot back in the day when you were younger, or do you have like a lot of nostalgia?
You're right. We should have already done that before I jumped in with the soundtrack. No, actually, I don't. I don't have a lot of nostalgic theme around this at all. I know I would have played them. I had familiarity with certain levels, particularly the minecart levels, the opening levels, and aquatic ambient. The aquatic one more than anything else. But I could never place now. Oh, is this something that I played later in life? Because I should go play it. Because I think like one of my earliest Donkey Kong memories is actually Donkey Kong 64 on the Nintendo 64. Beyond that, there was very little progress through that. We didn't get lots of games. I did play the version that's on the Switch, but that's just a re-release of a Wii U game as well. They don't really do that much with Donkey Kong, to be honest. Probably the most played around Donkey Kong is things like Super Smash Brothers, where he was a character and you could play as.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was the last game they made, but I know there was that game called Tropical Freeze.
That's the one.
But yeah, I actually played a lot of Donkey Kong Country back growing up. This and its sequel, the one after that. So I have quite a lot of memories associated with it. So yeah, this was quite a nostalgic trip for me. But yeah, going back to the theme, even though it's the main theme that plays in the opening cinematic before the title screen, but to me, I think it's such an iconic and memorable piece of
Hmm.
music. And as I was just discussing about my memories, we used to actually have a Super Nintendo that was hooked up in our garden shed. I don't remember
Yep,
that at all,
of course.
but for some reason it was put out there for some reason, and I used to spend a lot of time playing Donkey Kong Country out there. And yeah, so hearing this piece of music, yeah, very nostalgic for me.
Yeah, the whole SNES in the shed thing is just get the kids out there and away from the freaking house. I mean, playing super tennis in that on that SNES in the
Yeah.
garden is an iconic memory in my brain.
Yeah, like it's kind of funny when you think about it, but it makes sense now. I have kids, sending them outside of the shed, like go out there and play Super Nintendo and Mega Drive, and we just used to spend hours out there, so it worked, you know.
And for anyone thinking, God, your parents are cruel, it wasn't your traditional shed. It was a little bit different. Okay. All right. Simian Segway. It's simple, it's light, it's airy. It fits the map screen nicely. You kind of want that simple kind of light tune just playing for the map screen.
Yeah, I agree. It's a fun little upbeat piece of music. It makes you think of the tropical landscape that many of these initial levels are set in.
Yeah. DK Island Swing. This one really reminded me of music from the Aladdin game. I hope most people know this Aladdin game I'm talking about from the Mega Drive and SNES days. It's actually a really damn good game, but it reminded me of that, I'll bet, with a bit of a jungle vibe. It's a bit disjointed in places. I enjoy it, but it ain't much of a hook.
Well, I think this is an absolute classic track, and I think it suits the environment and the fact that you're playing as an ape. Just it seems to. I just think it goes hand in hand with that so well. And
Mm,
it's funny for me also. It's just a complete random segue, but there's this guy. It's a YouTuber. His name is Brrraains Floss, and basically he adds lyrics to pieces of video game music. And he's done a lot of classic video game,
okay.
like classic tracks from Nintendo era, this kind of era. So when I hear this music, if you know the YouTuber, like I can't help but hear the lyrics he added to this song. At the same time, I just thought I'd throw that in there. But yeah, I think this is
Is it comedy lyrics or is it serious lyrics?
no, it's sort of like comedic, yeah. But he does a really great job. I highly recommend him if you love video game music, and yeah, it does some really good stuff.
All right. That's cool. Okay, Cranky's theme. It's similar tone and vibe makes this an unremarkable one, but I do think it's one of the catchier versions of that similar theme that plot crops up a lot.
Mm. Yeah, there's definitely a running theme throughout the game. Quite, you can hear little, notes of this reoccurring sort of, Donkey Kong theme throughout. So this is really just like a slight remix on that main theme.
Yep.
It's not bad, but seeing as it's almost the same, there really isn't that much to say about it.
Yeah, yeah. And as well, like, the TV show has wrecked me. It's like I know Cranky and in a certain way with a certain voice. So even like hearing this theme and how upbeat it is, I'm like, that's not right. And don't get me started about what the fuck they did to him in the movie, but that's again a totally different thing. Justice for the Apes, Cave Dweller Concert. This is very atmospheric. The moody tone does have that underground feel, and the dripping sound effect is actually really clever, and I find it works really nicely in the overall tune. It's a very layered track with lots of little touches that makes this quite relaxing. Yeah, this is a great one. This is the kind of stuff I remember Donkey Kong Country for.
Mm. Yeah, I think they did a really great job in this game. Like I mentioned in the previous track, of making pieces of music that really made you feel like you were in the environments you were in.
Yep.
So this is another one of those. It's very simplistic in nature, but yeah, there's little details like you said with the dripping, and there's like echo sound effects when you kill the enemies and things like that that make you feel like you're in that cavernous environment, which I thought was really
Hmm.
cool. Yeah.
Bonus room blitz. The flute. The flute is king here. I love this. It's very catchy.
Yeah, this is a delightfully upbeat track, and throughout the game, I don't know if you remember, but one of the collectibles you can get are these golden animal sort of idol things.
Yeah.
And, man, I just something about they were so golden and shiny. I always really wanted to get them, man. So they did a good job of designing that as well.
Classic platforming, cleverly done. Aquatic ambience. It's in the name. And goodness, are the underwater vibes nailed here. It is extremely atmospheric, both relaxing and haunting in equal measures. A track so good that it is possible to listen to on its own and be transported immediately underwater.
I feel like you might be giving a little bit of a spoiler there for your upcoming top three, but yeah, like you said, the track, the name, it says it all. I think this is a beautifully soothing piece of music, and it's an interesting debate to have. Maybe one day we can have a debate about it, but for me, this has got to be up there as one of the best pieces of music ever paired with a water level in a video game. Interesting debate to have, but don't know how many others you can think of. But this is definitely up there as one of the best, I think.
Yeah, message me. Try and remember that. Message me because that's a brilliant idea. Because I think we could easily pull together 10 from classic days. Because immediately I think of Ocarina of Time, and I'm thinking of Sonic. You know, Sonic has got alone several of them. That'd be really cool. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, oh, very good, very good. All right. Thinking of other videos here while we're in the middle of one. Candy's Love Song, getting those Aladdin vibes here. Again, yet there's nothing particularly grand about this one. It's got a game show feel.
Yep, and I think this is a fine piece of music, but if you can even hear it and not be too distracted by the giant monkey boobs in your face.
Yes, yes, yes. Sexualized apes. Yes, even the show did that to Candy.
I don't know what they were thinking there.
I have no idea, but she doesn't appear in the movie, which outraged me. I know I keep going back to the movie, but because I'm stuck in Donkey Kong, it's like, there's Diddy, there's Dixie, where's Candy?
It's a PG, isn't it?
Bad Boss Boogie. It's got energy and danger. It feels like a boss track with the increase in tempo, which is exactly kind of what you want.
Definitely, and I think it adds a sense of tension to proceedings. You know that you're in a battle.
Okay, Minecart Madness. So about 6 months ago, every so often I'll jump on an emulator to play some old school games on my PC and record the content and try and get them up on a YouTube channel. And every so often I'll be like, okay, let me go back to the Mega Drive SNES days, even though I don't expect to be very good at them because it's an emulator, I can pretty much save at any point I want. So it's really easy for me to get through it. And I thought, yep, I'm going to go back and do Donkey Kong Country. I'm going to play Donkey Kong Country. I'm going to play it through and record the entire footage. Never done that before. That'll be fun. Do you know why it's not on YouTube? Do you know why it doesn't exist?
Because you got to this level.
Doesn't matter. Absolutely. Every life I had, every save I had, and then I fucked it up by saving over the same save slot as I fell down a hole. And that was the end of that save file. And I could not be bothered to start it again. It is iconic. And the piece of music that goes with it is brilliant. It gives me heart palpitations. It feels so dangerous, but in a focused way. I imagine gripping the controller tightly while playing this. It is, it's an iconic level, and the music fits it.
Yeah, I had a weird experience when listening to this track, because I don't think I've ever heard it all the way through. I think I've only ever heard like about halfway, because every time you die, it restarts. So I never like survived.
And eventually you'll get to the end, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I never heard it all the way through. So, but yeah, I think it does the memories that it brings upon in your head. Like it's more nightmarish. So it's kind of hard to enjoy the track too much.
It is that. And that's followed by Life in the Mines, which is more mellow than you might expect. It's got that underground vibe, but with industrialized touches layered in impressively. It's another strong showcase of the flute, but the sound effects that are dotted around throughout this one, to me, make this quite stand out. Is what I remember.
Yeah, I liked the gentle nature of this track, and I felt that it flowed quite nicely.
Voices of the Temple, one of the more forgettable tracks in that it doesn't have any major hook. Even though it's still got great ambience, I forgot this one almost immediately.
I like the melody used in this one, and if I recall, the difficulty in the game actually really starts to ramp up at this point. So that kind of give me little memories there as well.
So I did this track by track and watched videos along at the same time because I was so new. I had never made it this far in this game. So I was kind of like, all right, let me see. But there is a level, weirdly enough, coming up that I would remember. And I'm like, maybe I didn't. I can't place my memories.
Mm.
Forest Frenzy, a very imaginative track that has a touch more energy alongside some wonderful melodies that make this feel quite otherworldly.
I thought this was a fine enough track, but nothing particularly stood out for me. So quite a contrast to what you just said, but each to their own, isn't it? Of course.
It is indeed, isn't indeed. That is the joy. And we get Treetop Rock next. And it is as rock as this game soundtrack can get. There's some clear experimentation going on here. And for me, it only kind of works. I don't care for this one overall. It didn't really do much for me.
Yeah, we agree on this one. I thought it was a fairly subtle track that didn't really stand out. Yeah.
Funky's Foog. Did you know that this track was actually supposed to be in a different game?
I had no idea. No.
Well, it was supposed to be in Killer Instinct. And
Hmm.
hearing it and knowing that, I was like, oh, I can see that. It fits with that game's tone more than Donkey Kong, really. It's fine here. But yeah, knowing that, read it beforehand, I was like, oh, okay, when I get to that track, I'm going to really see. Because, Killer Instinct's energetic, kind of violent soundtrack. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense because I thought that it was a very upbeat and there was an epicness to it, which is like I thought was quite funny because of how it's used in the game. So now you say that back it's in a Donkey Kong game, that makes complete sense actually.
Yeah, it would make more sense if this was like a boss battle theme.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Misty Menace, one of the best examples of ambience and atmosphere in the entire game. This is almost horror-like as it plays it so subtle, yet it builds in incredible ways, adding more and more dark tones. I would compare this to a almost Silent Hill-esque atmospheric tone to it.
Yeah, and it does have that spooky nature to it, and it makes sense because of the level that it's associated with. I felt like this was a very Nintendo track. Like it just felt like something that you would feel and see and hear in a Nintendo game. Yeah.
And this is the level, like I said, that when I came up and was being played, I was like, oh, I remember this. And maybe, like I said, I did make it that far. Maybe I'd seen another video when I was younger.
Yeah, maybe.
Northern Hemispheres. The cold oozes from this track. It's very isolating, very lonely.
It gives you the sense that you're on a trek through a snowy tundra. There's lots of delightful subtleties that make this one easy to appreciate.
Agreed. And that's because I saw that right in the track listing, and then I was like, oh, Ice Cave Chant. So like we're doing two cold ones in a row, but I'm going to give them a lot of credit here, is they changed the tone completely with something that is with Ice Cave Chant. It's kind of beautiful. The melody is warmer, but it's still got a cold vibe again, thanks to this twinkly sound that's really catchy. It's two cold tracks, but very different styles.
It's true. When you see it on there, you think, oh, you've got the one cold one, oh, there's another one after. How they're going to differentiate, but I think they did a really good job. Yeah.
Fear Factory then. I definitely know I never made it this far in the game. This is nice and industrial rhythm that mixes the overall game theme with something more metalized. It almost has a Sonic the Hedgehog end zone vibes to it with the industrial aspect, but still rooted in that Donkey Kong jungly vibe.
Yeah, I felt like there was a lot of atmosphere to this track, and I really enjoyed that. Did we skip past Ice Cave Chan, or we just?
Oh no, I thought you had already said your bits about it.
Didn't we do? Was that not Northern Hemisphere?
No, then I did Ice Cave Chant.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you added them both into one part. No worries.
No,
I just thought Ice Cave Chant was a delightfully cheery piece of music. and it's in a level that's anything but cheery. It's a very tough level, so it's quite ironic, really.
Is that a level where you slide down hills a lot, right?
Yes, we've got the big icicle crystals is like in the background, and yeah, there's a lot of slipping and sliding and stuff. Not a
Mm.
lot of fun.
So you said about Fear Factory, yeah?
Yes.
Then we move on to Gangplank Galleon. Gar, it is piratey. Probably one of the more famous tracks from the game. I think people might immediately recognize, maybe not be able to place it, but might, recognize it. But it just has this kind of piratey theme. It's very familiar. It's fine.
It's fine. Only just fine. I think this is an
Mm.
absolute banger of a track that's filled with pure nostalgia. And I love the section when DK's soundtrack kicks in. It's just pure classic to me. Great stuff.
Oh, okay.
Good shit,
I
man.
Yeah, I really don't like pirate themed stuff, man. I hate pirate themed metal. I hate pirate like any of that. Um, I had to live through my adult years through everybody talking like Captain Jack Sparrow. I don't think I've forgiven the world for that shit yet. So anything piratey, I just go, oh, for fuck's sake.
Immediately switch off.
Yeah. K rules Kafoni. A game over screen that tells you failed with its moody pan pipes. That's it.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that.
That's literally what it is. It's one of those short snippets, really, more than anything else.
Yeah.
And then we get the credits concerto, however you say that. And wow, what the fuck? How brilliant is this? From the moody synth to the atmospheric tone, the light melody, the buzz of a guitar going, realm. It is stupidly good, delightfully memorable, and almost like cool. The soundtrack overall is really strong. And he decided to pull this out at the credits. I mean, we've seen this before in many games where a credit song is just somehow so layered and so cleverly done and so different to uniquely everything else. This is one of those where I'm generally taken back, and I don't know if I'd ever really heard this before. So I don't know if that was even more like, what the hell did this come from? I thought this was brilliant.
Yeah, it's not one that like jumps to mind if you're like, what's the Donkey Kong Country credits music? And I was thinking like, what if we did like a tier list for the end credits music? It would be pointless because all the end credits music would probably be like at the top tier. For some reason, like so many games save their best stuff for it. But yeah, I think this track just does a great job of making you feel like you've been on a journey of epic proportions, and it's just like that's quite something funny about that considering it's a Donkey Kong game, and it's obviously quite a silly like childish game. But then yeah, they got this banger track to close out the whole thing, and it's good stuff. It encapsulates everything really well.
Well, considering the difficulty of the game is well known and famously, if you have made it this far, it is almost like this is your reward. We're going to give you this.
It does feel like that. Yeah.
And then we have one more. It's lose/win. And this is just two short pieces that are exactly what the title says. It's the sound, a couple of seconds of the losing if you die, and one if you obviously beat the level as well.
Yeah, the one that the little few notes that play when you die. That's something I'll never forget because I've heard it so many times in my life. I didn't appreciate having to hear it again.
It's a strong soundtrack overall, and this is kind of suit for the entire Donkey Kong Country franchise, well, for the first three games as well. Weirdly enough, it's got a couple of my favorite on it, but it's not my favorite Donkey Kong Country soundtrack. That is another game I'm sure we'll get to in the future. But this is music that I would happily put on in a car and just like drive to and enjoy it.
There's something amusing about you driving to Donkey Kong Country music, just like yeah. But yeah, no, it's super nostalgic for me. Like I said, but it's not one that when talking about great soundtracks, normally it's not one that would come to mind. But after listening through it, I do think there are some really standout banger tracks. But surrounding those, they are maybe a bit more forgettable.
That is true. Yeah, the whole point of this series really is as much to try and put a focus on the soundtracks that don't get as much. We can talk about your Final Fantasies. We can talk about the epic music that you get in Elden Ring and the likes of all of that. But what about ones like this and others that we're doing where you just kind of forget because, you know, either it's nostalgia, you forgot because you were younger and so on. That's what we want to cover. So we, of course, have to do top 3 tracks. You can go first.
Okay, so I'll start at number 1. Why not? It's easy for me, and I'm hurt a little bit that you criticized it, but Gangplank Galleon for me is a complete standout because it just it's just pure nostalgia. I love it. Number 2, it was a bit close, but Aquatic Ambience has to be in there. I think that's just such a beautifully soothing track. And for 3, I'll just go for the main theme. It's a bit of a boring choice, I suppose, but just because that is just the iconic Donkey Kong music, and again, it's nostalgia goggles, I suppose, blah blah blah. But yeah, when I just think of Donkey Kong and I think of this game, that's the music I hear in my mind. So yeah.
Well, it's not so much nostalgia goggles because you did actually re-listen to it for this, so you remembered it. You see what I mean? Like in that sense. So
Yeah,
but we both used the word nostalgia to describe it.
definitely. And I think this is just an iconic piece of music, you know, for me. So
well, we double up on one. We double up on one is I also have Aquatic Ambient. So that's probably the recommend track to check out. But I would also say check out Misty Menace. Is that my other one? And because I've raved about it, the credits concerto. That's just so uniquely weird and different that it needs to be heard. Yes, indeed.
fine list.
There you go. Donkey Kong Country, the soundtrack. You got any thoughts that you know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?